What happened with your business? Because I guess working as a dancer, you and I both have that in common as our background, and then journeying into yoga teacher mode, I guess we also had the benefit of knowing that if we didn't teach, we didn't necessarily get paid. So
Absolutely.
It's the start of an entrepreneurial journey of working for yourself, but then eventually realizing that, hey, you know, in order for this to be sustainable, I'm going to have to learn to leverage myself a little bit better as well.
Absolutely, darling. And, you know, to be honest, as far as that part of my business goes, you know, I've started to actually write more. So I'm blogging more. I'm in the process of actually authoring my own book, which I hope to have out and published by the beginning of next year, and leverage myself that way with more webinars and all sorts of different information around shamanism and shamanic practices, and how can you make them a really practical aspect of life, so it's not just a concept, so it's an embodied way of living.
And when yeah, absolutely. Because when you went to Peru, you spent 2 years there. Did you just wind down your business or close it down?
Well, Peru was a part of my business. So I lived there for 10 months, but I travelled on and off there for 2 years. So we actually took an international group there, and then I ended up actually doing my own work there. So the business, again, like I've always done in my entire life, business and travel were very much married, and that will probably, I would foresee, the rest of my life will continue on that in that vein.
I've only ever known you to do that, actually. I love that about you.
Absolutely.
Very, very much so. Beautiful, free spirit embodiment, And so what eventually got you into the work you're doing now?
Okay, so, I mean, obviously you know this story, my darling, because we're dear friends, and we met at the time that was soon after this journey. The defining moment that got me into the work that I'm doing now was actually the loss of my son in childbirth, as you know, and he was full term. It was a 3-day labour, and I remember holding him in my arms and just thinking, I'm going to get emotional now.
I'm emotional. Very, very much so.
You know, just thinking to myself, I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not afraid to step onto my path. I'm not afraid. I don't want to be afraid anymore to live the life that I feel is in my highest vision. So I made so many promises to him in that moment, and it's such a strong anchor, and has been such a strong anchor in my life. And, you know, so I would say that my journey with Alakai and the loss of my son, and then consequently the loss of my mother within a 3.5-year period. I mean, you know, I found out that my mother was terminally ill a month after Alakai passed. After that, I also realised that my husband and I were not going to make it. So even though we're still good friends, you know, there were the 3 great losses in my life at a time where also I feel like on a very deep level, everything was being swept away so that I could begin again, so that I could really step into my life's purpose and be doing what I'm meant to be doing, which is actually, fortunately enough, what I'm actually doing now. So huge journey, my darling, huge journey. And I've got to say, you know, we're talking about the heart and gratitude around all of this. I am so deeply grateful for this experience, because if it wasn't for our collective sacrifice and also conscious choice, because I do believe that it was a karmic contract for the 3 of us, as in my husband, Alakai, and myself. If it wasn't for that journey and that experience, I would not be doing what I'm doing today. And of course, I don't wish ever that he wasn't here in my life now, but that's the truth. I have such deep gratitude for that experience and everything it gifted me with.
I mean, the grief that you experienced in that time was enormous, to put it mildly. And during your healing, how important was it for you to stay connected to your heart? And how did you do this?
So, yeah, Patty, I mean, you know, I've always been an incredibly sanguine person, a very happy individual, and always managed to, even though, of course, like anyone experienced grief, I could just skirt along the top of it in a way. And that's what I recognized about myself. But here I was at, 41, 42 at the time, 41, 2011, and I couldn't hide. I had to go deep, and it forced me to go deep. And every day was a connection with how I was truly feeling. There was no more hiding. There was like, well, how am I really feeling today? And actually honoring that process. And whether that meant sleeping, whether that meant walking in nature, which has been my greatest medicine, and also doing ceremony, journaling, and continuing to deepen connection with my spiritual self as well as the earth. You know, for me, that is the marriage of the heart, as we were talking about yesterday, is heaven and earth, or spirit and sky in shamanic terms. Yeah. Sorry, spirit, sky, and the earth together.
It's where heaven and earth meet in the heart. That's right.
Where heaven and earth meet. So, you know, those practices became my medicine. You know, as was this journey. And when you've got nowhere to hide, you can't go out anymore. You have to come in.